Hello and welcome back to my channel, Talented Reads. Today's video is going to be talking about the 2023 new releases I'm excited about that are coming out in the next 2 months, so May and June. Disclaimer, I'll put up the published date as I saw it at the time of filming, but I mean, with publishing, those dates could change. Also, I mean, this is obviously not a full comprehensive list. These are kind of just the ones that I'm interested in. There's always going to be some that I miss. And I don't really read the full synopsis on books. I'm more of like a blurb reader. It really doesn't take much to convince me to pick up a book. Yeah. There's quite a few. I think publishers, I think the summer is like a really big book drop for them. So let's get into it. Let's run through May, and we'll start strong with The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. This is a razor sharp and bewitching fairy tale of discovering the darkness in the world and the darkness within oneself. And I heard this was actually a mermaid tale, which has me even more intrigued. And just look at the cover. Fucking beautiful. Next is The Ferryman by Justin Cronin. From the New York Times bestselling author of The Passage comes a riveting standalone novel about a group of survivors on a hidden island utopia where the truth isn't what it seems. Survivors stranded, you say? You know I'm there. Plus, it was blurbed by like Stephen King, Blake Crouch, and Andy Weir, so that's promising. Now, I did get an arc of this through NetGalley, so thank you, Balancing Books, for the free copy. Next is For Found Dead by Natalie D. Richards. The last show has ended, but the nightmare is just beginning. Tonight, Riverview Theaters is closing forever, the last remaining business in a defunct shopping mall. The moviegoers have left, and Jo and her 6 coworkers have the final shift. A shift that quickly takes a dark turn. Ooh, sounds like another good locked room mystery, maybe even slashery, and I'm excited. Warrior Girl Unearthed by Angeline Boulley. We are back on Sugar Island in this high-stakes thriller about the power of discovering your stolen history. This is the same author that wrote Firekeeper's Daughter, which debuted, I think, a couple of years ago now. And I freaking love that. So I can't wait to read this one. And of course, we've got another beautiful cover. Next is Chain Gang AllStars by Nana Kwamani Adijabanya. Oh my god, I'm so sorry if I butchered that. We have Loretta and Hamara. Hurricane Stacker are the stars of Chain Gang AllStars, the cornerstone of Cape, or Criminal Action Penal Entertainment, a highly popular, highly controversial profit-raising program and America's increasingly dominant private prison industry. It's the return of the gladiators, and prisoners are competing for the ultimate prize, their freedom. Chain Gang AllStars is a look at the American prison system's unholy alliance of systemic racism, unchecked capitalism, mass incarceration, and a clear-eyed reckoning with what freedom in this country really means. Whew, that sounds intense, but I'm so excited to pick this up. Next is The Night Flowers by Sarah Herchenrother. People tend to think of us as shadows, blurred black mist. Often it's out of the corner of my eye. People sense the cold. I've heard of ghost hunters who use a tape measure, laying it out on the ground to mark our boundaries. I don't want to be measured. Oh my God, is this a book from a ghost perspective? It says The Night Flowers, a haunting debut thriller written with pulse-pounding precision and a deep understanding of the psychology of violence and the tenacity of those who combat it. Announces the arrival of Sarah as an exciting new voice. And it's a debut, which we all love. Oh, sounds good. Next is Adrift by Lisa Bordeaux. S wakes up alone on a sailboat in the remote Pacific Northwest with no memory of who she is or how she got there. She finds a note, but it's more warning than comfort. Start over. Don't make yourself known. Don't look back. Ooh, that sounds right up my alley. And it's set in my neck of the woods, so I feel kind of obligated to read it. And of course, it's a cool cover, too. It's almost like a rainbow shimmer, too. I wonder if this is... I heard someone say this is like, got some commentary on, like, what is that called? Like global warming, environmental kind of stuff. So we'll see. Now I did get an art of this through NetGalley, so thank you, Sourcebooks, for the free copy. Next is Graveyard of Lost Children by Katrina Monroe. At 4 months old, Olivia Dahl was almost murdered. Driven by haunting visions, her mother became obsessed with the idea that Olivia was a changeling, and that the only way to get her real baby back was to make a trade with the dead woman living at the bottom of the well. Now Olivia is ready to give birth to a daughter of her own, and for the first time, she hears the woman whispering. It says it's Baby Teeth meets The Invited in a haunting horror novel about the sometimes fragile connection between a woman's sense of self and what it means to be a good mother. Ooh, I do like the changing lore, but I think I've only read one other book, and I thought it was just okay. But I'm intrigued to see what this one brings to the table. And can we just appreciate the creepy hand, like, over the shoulder on the cover? Oh, love it. Next is Our Hideous Progeny by C.E. McGill. Says historical fiction with a dark twist in the spirit of Circe, Ariadne, and Mexican Gothic. Our Hideous Progeny is a brilliant revisiting of Mary Shelley's classic Frankenstein, that unfolds with a fresh, provocative, queer twist. This is a debut novel from CE, and I'm so here for this. And you know, I'm going to say it. Look at this freaking cover. Oh, they are coming hard with the covers this year. Next is The Guest by Emma Cline. Summer is coming to a close on the east end of Long Island, and Alex is no longer welcome. A misstep at a dinner party, and the older man she's been staying with dismisses her with a ride to the train station and a ticket back to the city. With few resources and a waterlogged phone, but gifted with an ability to navigate the desires of others, Alex stays on Long Island and drifts like a ghost through the hedged lanes, gated driveways, and sun-blasting dunes of a rarefied world that is at first closed to her. Sounds like a little bit of like psychological obsessive element going on here. I'm intrigued. I read Emma Cline's other book, The Girls, which I did like. I'm not sure about this cover though. Like, it's simple enough to catch my attention, but this green is like burning holes in my retinas. Next is Fractal Noise by Christopher Poloni. July 25th, 2234, the crew of the Atamura discovers the anomaly. On the seemingly uninhabited planet Talos, a circular pit 50 kilometers wide. Its curve not of nature, but design. Now a small team must land and journey on foot across the surface to learn who built the hole and why. Okay, now this says it's the second book in the Fractal Verse series. Book 1 being To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, which I did read, but I think I totally missed the fact that it was part of a series. I don't remember knowing that when I was reading that. I wasn't completely sold on To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, but I am interested to see where this book goes with it. Plus, you know the cover got me. Alright. Next is Women We Buried, Women We Burned by Rachel Louise Snyder. This is a memoir. For decades, Rachel Snyder has been a fierce advocate reporting on the darkest social issues that impact women's lives. Women We Buried, Women We Burned is her own story. A piercing account of Snyder's journey from teenage runaway to reporter on the global epidemic of domestic violence. Women We Buried, Women We Burned is a memoir that embodies the transformative power of resilience. Sounds like an intense book, but I've heard really great things about Rachel's book, so I'm happy to be checking out her memoir. Next is Killing It by Mike Bakoven. Since the late 1980s, the Square has been one of the most important clubs in New York for the alt comedy scene. But before that, it was something much darker and is now a place where evil lingers, waiting for a chance to spill blood. After a night of killing on stage, 4 comics find themselves in a desperate situation as the spirits of the past come out to play, and a fight for laughs becomes a fight for survival in the most unlikely of places. Ooh, sounds like a good slasher, and at a comedy club, no less. That's an interesting background. This is the author of Fantastic Land, which I have hauled that book, I think last year, but haven't read it yet, so excited for this one. And lastly for May is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. White Lies, Dark Humor, Deadly Consequences. Best-selling sensation Juniper Song is not who she says she is. She didn't write the book she claims she wrote, and she is most certainly not Asian American in this chilling and hilariously cutting novel. With its totally immersive first-person voice, Yellowface grapples with questions of diversity, racism, and cultural appropriation, as well as the terrifying alienation of social media. R.F. Kuang's novel is timely, razor-sharp, and eminently readable. I'm really excited for this one. I have already pre-ordered my copy from Waterstones because, of course, the UK special edition is so much better than the US one. It had like sprayed edges and it was black and all pretty, so I cannot wait for it to arrive in the mail. Alrighty, let's get into June. June has a lot more, because like I said, summer is always a big book drop, so lucky for us. Alright. First is The Grimoire of Grave Fates by Hannah Altoff and Margaret Owen. 20 hours, 18 students, 1 murderer. Crack open your spellbook and enter the world of the illustrious Galileo Academy for the extraordinary. There's been a murder on campus, and it's up to the students of Galileo to solve it. Follow 18 authors and 18 students as they puzzle out the clues and find the guilty party. Just sounds like a good, wholesome mystery, and I'm down. Plus, another gorgeous cover. Next is Everything the Darkness Eats by Eric LaRocca. An insidious darkness threatens to devastate a rural New England village when occult forces are conjured and when bigotry is left unrestrained. Eric LaRocca is just an auto-buy for me at this point. I've read several other books and they are just weird and dark and I love them. So, of course I'm going to be picking this one up. Next is Mayfly by C.J. Lead. By day, Mayfly works at the happiest place in the world as every child's favorite ice princess. By the neon night glow of the Sunset Strip, Maeve haunts the dive bars with a drink in one hand and a book in the other, imitating her literary heroes. But when Gideon Green moves to town, he awakens something dangerous within her, and the world she knows suddenly shifts beneath her feet. Untethered, Maeve ditches her discontented act and tries on a new persona, a bolder, bloodier one inspired by the pages of American Psycho. Step aside, Patrick Bateman, it's Maeve's turn with the knife. Mayfly will thrill fans of My Heart is a Chainsaw and Carolyn Keps's You series. Oh, I loved both of those. This is slasher with a woman serial killer. Yeah, I'm buying this immediately. Next is Housewoman by Adora Nora. When Itafuna is put on a plane from Nigeria to Sugarland, Texas, she anticipates her newly arranged all-American life. A handsome husband, a beautiful red brick mansion, pizza parlors, and dance classes. As family secrets boil to the surface, Itafuna must decide how to scrape herself out of an impossibly sticky situation, a marriage succumbing to generational cycles of pain and silence. In the end, she may be carrying the greatest secret of all. Ooh, I'm getting good thriller vibes. And I love this cover, although it looks almost young adultish. But that quick synopsis certainly doesn't sound young adultish, so I'm intrigued. Next is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. After years of working as an FBI agent, Titus Crown returns home to Churn County, land of moonshine and cornbread, fistfights and honeysuckle. Seeing his hometown struggling with a bigoted police force inspires him to run for sheriff. He wins and becomes the first black sheriff in the history of the county. Then, a year to the day after his election, a young black man is fatally shot by Titus's deputies. Titus pledges to follow the truth wherever it leads, but no one expected he would unearth a serial killer who has been hiding in plain sight, haunting the dirt lanes and woodland clearings of Charon. S.A. Cosby is the author of Razorblade Tears, which I did enjoy. And, he definitely does not shy away from rough topics. And this sounds like another intense social book, but, they all have this really good kind of mystery looming in the background. So I'm really excited to kind of see how this compares to Razorblade Tears. Next is Girls and Their Horses by Eliza Jane Brazier. Set in the glamorous, competitive world of show jumping, a novel about the girls who ride, their cutthroat mothers, and a suspicious death at a horse show. From the author of The Good Rich People. So I read Good Rich People last year and did enjoy it. It also was a competition of sorts with obviously rich people involved. So I'm kind of curious to pick this one up and see if there's any similarities, because they're both kind of, similar plots. And I think Good Rich People was her debut. So it's always good to see if they've grown as a writer in between their books. So I'm still looking forward to this one. Next is She Started It by Cian Gilbert. For fans of Lucy Foley and Leanne Moriarty, She Started It as a hot, twisty summer debut thriller about a group of young women whose oh my God, what is my problem? Caribbean bachelorette party takes a sinister turn. It's Lord of the Flies meets And Then There Were None, but with Instagram and too much Prosecco. The party of a lifetime is nothing like what they expected. They got me at sinister. And this definitely sounds like a really good summer pick. So, next is The Drowning Woman by Robin Harding. This is a deliciously twisted story of friendship, retribution, and betrayal, following a homeless woman fleeing a dangerous past and the wealthy society wife she saves. Now, I've read a couple of Robin Harding, and they're kind of a hit or miss for me, but she does have a writing style that, hooks you in and usually ends up having a good psychological twist in there at some point, so I'm intrigued enough to pick this one up. Next is You Can Trust Me by Wendy Hurd. Summer and Leo would do anything for each other. Inspired by the way each has had to carve her place in a hostile and unforgiving world, and united by the call of the open road, they travel around California in Summer's tricked out Land Cruiser. It's not a glamorous life, but it gives them the freedom they crave from the painful past they've left behind. But even free spirits have bills to pay. Luckily, Summer is a skilled pickpocket, a small-time thief, and a con artist. And Leo, determined to pay her own way, has learned a trick or two. Eager for a big score, Leo catches in her crosshairs Michael Forrester, a self-made billionaire and philanthropist. When her charm wins him over, Leo is rewarded with an invitation to his private island off the California coastline for a night of fabulous excess. She eagerly anticipates returning with photos that can be sold to the paparazzi, jewelry that can be liquidated, and endless stories to share with Summer. Instead, Leo disappears. Dun dun dun! This sounds really good. I actually got an arc of this one through NetGalley, so thank you to Ballantine Bonton Books for the free copy. Next is House of Rot by Danger Slater. The pink mold growing on the walls isn't the worst thing about Elena and Miles' brand new fixer-upper. There's also the inexplicable footsteps in the night, the sealed over windows and doors, and the neighbor that hears their screams but can't be bothered to help. Soon there's no leaving at all, no hope of cleaning, and that encroaching mold, it's practically becoming a second skin. Welcome to the House of Rot. You're never getting out. Challenge accepted. Sounds like a good kind of like maybe body horror haunted house style. So, and of course I love me some mushrooms on book covers. Next is Parallel Hells by Leon Craig. In this deliciously strange... What is with deliciously? That's like the third time we've seen that, haven't we? In this deliciously strange debut collection, Leon Craig draws on folklore and gothic horror and a refreshingly inventive ways to explore queer identity, love, power, and the complicated nature of being human. I believe the hardcover of this book is already out in the UK. The paperback is being released to the US in June. So, sounds like a very interesting short story collection. Next, we got Where Echoes Die by Courtney Gold. Two sisters travel to an isolated Arizona town to investigate its connection to their mother's death, but uncover more than they bargained for in this supernatural thriller from the author of The Dead in the Dark. Where Echoes Die, Courtney Gold draws readers into a haunting desert town to explore grief, the weight of not letting go of the past, first love, and the bonds between sisters, mothers, and daughters. I did read The Dead in the Dark, and I enjoyed it enough to keep reading from her. This is a young adult book, I believe. Next is The Only One Left by Riley Sager, which I'm so excited about. So looking forward to this one. Best-selling author Riley Sager returns with a gothic chiller about a young caregiver assigned to work for a woman accused of a Lizzie Borden-like massacre decades earlier. Now reduced to a schoolyard chant, The Hope family murders shocked the Maine coast one bloody night in 1929. And the chant. At 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope, stabbed her father with a knife, took her mother's happy life. It wasn't me, Lenora said, but she's the only one not dead. So excited for this one. And I think the cover falls outside of, like, how his covers, like, the pattern they normally follow. It looks really bold, so I'm expecting the content to be that way too. Next is The Spare Room by Andrea Bartz. Kelly's new life in Philadelphia has turned into a nightmare. She's friendless and jobless, and the lockdown has her trapped in a tiny apartment with the man she gave up everything for, who's just called off their wedding. The only bright spot is her newly rekindled friendship with her childhood friend Sabrina, now a glamorous best-selling author with a handsome, high-powered husband. When Sabrina and Nathan offer Kelly an escape hatch, volunteering the spare room of their remote Virginia mansion, she jumps at the chance to run away from her old life. There, Kelly secretly finds herself falling for both her enchanting hosts, until one night a wild and unexpected threesome leads the couple to open their marriage for her. At first, Kelly loves being part of this risque new world, but when she discovers that the last woman they invited into their marriage is missing, she starts to wonder if they could be dangerous. Ooh, spicy. I have read all of Andrea Bartz's other books, and I just love them. I love her writing. I love the plots in her books. She's always got one or two little twists up her sleeve. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. I did receive an arc of this through NetGalley, so thank you to Balancing Books for a free copy. Next is The Quiet Tenant by Clemence Michelon. This is a pulse-pounding psychological thriller about a serial killer, narrated by those closest to him. His 13-year-old daughter, his girlfriend, and the one victim he spared. I'm so intrigued about this one, mainly because it's told from other perspectives instead of the serial killer themselves. So, yeah, that's really interesting to me. Next is 0 Days by Ruth Ware. Ruth Ware returns with this adrenaline-fueled thriller that combines Mr. and Mrs. Smith with The Fugitive, about a woman in a race against time to clear her name and find her husband's murderer. Now this sounds more like a domestic thriller, and the cover has me thinking it's almost like more sci-fi-ish vibes. And I tend to like Ruth Ware's more like traditional thriller, locked room mysteries. So I don't know how I feel about this one, but I will always pick up a Ruth Ware book. So here we are. Next is 19 Claws on a Blackbird by Augustina Bizterka. Oh, I butchered that, didn't I? I did. From celebrated author, this collection of 19 brutal, darkly funny short stories takes into our deepest fears and through our most disturbing fantasies. Through stories about violence, alienation, and dystopia, Augustina's vision of the human experience emerges in a complex, unexpected way, often unsettling, sometimes thrilling, and always profound. We are getting some good anthology and short story collections this year. Augustina is the author of Tender as the Flesh, so I'm expecting this to be just as dark as it promises. Next is The Whispers by Ashley Audrain, from the author of The Push, a page-turner about 4 suburban families whose lives are changed when the unthinkable happens, and what is lost when good people make unconscionable choices. The story spins out over the course of 1 week, and the alternating voices of the women in each family as they are forced to face the secrets within the walls of their own homes and the uncomfortable truths that connect them all to one another. So I'm not usually like a motherhood type of reader, and I didn't really rate her other book, The Push, very highly, but I have to know what the unthinkable was that happens, so I feel like I have to have answers now. Next is Night's Edge by Liz Karen. Having a mom like Izzy meant Mia had to grow up fast. No extracurriculars, no inviting friends over, and definitely no dating. The most important rule: tell no one of Izzy's hunger, the kind only blood can satisfy. Ooh, sounds vampirish, and I love it. Plus, it's a new one by Tora Nightfire, so you know you're going to be in for a treat. Next is The Edge of Sleep by Jake Emanuel. Dave Torres, a night watchman in a placid coastal town, knows all about sleep troubles. Since childhood, he's battled terrors and nightmares. Sometimes those battles leak into his waking life, with disastrous consequences for those he loves. Now Dave lives alone and self-medicates to neutralize his dreams. It's not much of a life, he knows. The morning after Independence Day, Santa Maria, California, is so quiet Dave can hear the ocean from miles away. Traffic signals blink from red to green over empty intersections. Storefronts remain locked up tight. Every radio station whispers static. And all over town there are bodies lying right where their owners left them. Dead right where they slept. Dave, along with his ex-girlfriend Katie, his best friend Matteo, and Linda, a nurse he's just met, struggle to unravel the mystery before sleep overtakes them all. I don't think I've ever read a book quite like this. It sounds so interesting, and it would be very hard to stay awake for so long. So I'm intrigued to read it. I don't know if it would get boring after a while, you know? Next is The Devil's Playground by Craig Russell. This is a riveting 1920s Hollywood thriller about the making of the most terrifying silent film ever made and a deadly search for the single copy rumored still to exist. Ooh, I love horror books about films. And this one sounds like a ride. Plus, you know what I'm going to say here. Look at this freaking cover. Ah, so good. And last on the June list is Dead 11 by Jimmy Giuliano. On a creepy island where everyone has a strange obsession with the year 1994, a newcomer arrives, hoping to learn the truth about her son's death, but finds herself pulled deeper and deeper into the bizarrely insular community and their complicated rules. I'm so ready for some 90s nostalgia set on a horror island. I mean, come on. It just sounds like a good summer read. So, yeah. Well, that's it for today's video. Let me know in the comments if any of these sound like ones you'd enjoy, or if you've already got any of these on your TBR list. Publishing is going hard this year. So many good ones have already come out, and a good lineup still to come. And, fall's coming, which are usually my favorite season for books. So, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.